Down at the southern border, cartels are reportedly authorizing the use of weaponized drones against border and ICE agents. This after we saw reports of members being given the green light to open fire on U.S. law enforcement. And just 1 week ago, we saw cartel members shoot at border agents near the Rio Grande. Thankfully, none of them were hurt. So my next guest joined the Sinaloa Cartel at a young age, along with his twin brother. And by their teen years, they were in leadership roles of the $3 billion enterprise. Margarito J. Flores Jr. now works with U.S. leaders and law enforcement to educate people on the cartel. He joins me now. He's wearing glasses and a mask for his safety. Thanks for being with us, Margarito. I appreciate your time today.
No, thank you for having me, Mr. Cain. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
May we do this really quickly at the outset? Let's establish this, your bona fides here for the audience. I am particularly fascinated by Mexican drug cartels. I know names, I know the names of cartels, but I want to do this for the audience's benefit. The Sinaloa Cartel has been historically, at least for the last couple of decades, the biggest cartel in Mexico. It was led by El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman, and it was led as well by Ismael Zambada.
Big ass mask, Jay.
El Mayo, right? What did you do? How high was where was your place in the leadership and the hierarchy? What did you do for Sinaloa?
Yes, well, historically, the Sinaloa Cartel happens to be probably the most profitable, the biggest in terms of drug distribution, and the most violent. It was headed by Joaquin Guzman Loera, El Chapo, and Mayo Zambada, who I worked directly with. My brothers and organization were probably in charge of one of the major distribution cells in the United States for almost 10 years. So we were on the American side, and we worked directly with them and many of their top lieutenants.
You worked directly with El Mayo, you said, and you were on the American side. Do you mind me asking where you were in America, helping coordinate, I assume, shipments wholesale into the United States?
Yes, we were in charge of our distribution and coordinating shipments across the United States and into Canada. Canada being a big market now, a top 5 market for the Mexican drug cartels. So that was our side of the business as well. We were in charge of basically exporting back into Mexico bulk, U.S. currency, which is I think is the driving force, to these Mexican drug cartels.
Okay, Margarito, I could have an hour-long conversation with you about how that's done tactically, how you ship that bulk load of money and cash back to Mexico. What are the best ways you guys have used drugs coming in? But I want to start here. You see this story about the drug cartels exchanging fire with American forces at the southern border. Now there's this story about weaponized drones. Here's a couple of questions on this first. Do you see any situation where the cartel wants direct violent conflict with U.S. forces? That would seem, Margarito, bad for business and not something they would want to do. But is that something we're now beginning to see?
Well, if the reports are correct, I wouldn't be able to go against those reports. But historically, every drug cartel has an unwritten rule that's been, for many years, that you do not commit acts of violence against any law enforcement officer, especially no federal law enforcement officers. That borderline is invisible, but it works for the most part. I don't see any benefit from drug cartels actually targeting law enforcement for no reason at all. I think that they know that once that happens, that there's no turning back, and it'll be bad for business, as you mentioned.
He's making it clear. He's making it clear to the man, hey, man, you guys keep saying the cartel greenlit these border operators. The cartel wouldn't do that. Unwritten rule, don't mess with American law enforcement, right? He's basically drawing the line between human smuggling and drug trafficking. Your news channels do not want that. They want to be able to blur all these lines so that they could point fingers of blame in any direction and be right. And he's trying to tell them, nah, bro, that's somebody else, but they don't be wanting to hear that shit. They want to mix everybody up. Them human smugglers are the cartel, as far as they're concerned.
And by the way, okay, we're going to move on to that, off of that in just one moment. But what about the story of weaponized drones? Tell me what you understand about the level of technological weaponry the cartel is employing at this point.
At this time, they continue to advance, especially with, military, they're recruiting ex-military from different countries, including the United States, and they use this, their know-how to actually improve and go to war with other cartels. So it's been common use against retaliation against each other. So it just, any technology that's out there, they're going to use it to their advantage. They're going to use it to smuggle. They're going to use it to attack each other and commit more violence.
Okay.
AKA, they got the technology covered, bro. When you make a problem, they make an answer.
Now, we talked about they wouldn't want to fire upon American security forces, military, or Border Patrol because you know what happens then. And it looks like it's happened now, Margarito. I mean, President Trump has declared the Mexican drug cartels a foreign terrorist group. That giving essentially license to the American military, should they deem necessary, to go into Mexico to attack the cartels. Where does that put them now today? That seems to be a big change in the business model.
Yes, I think that makes them a target. Me just being at the upper tiers of the cartel, I know that they're fearful of the American government, but they're more fearful of the laws. As you could tell, that many high-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel have been arrested, especially due to my cooperation, and they all can, start to cooperate. They don't like the punishment, they don't like the laws, but I think that this is a great tool, and I applaud President Trump for actually putting this, executive order into effect, because I think that it is going to scare them. Now, I don't know if it's going to stop the demand for drug trafficking, but I do think that it's an important tool. And I think that, the president of Mexico should accept this with open arms. I mean, they're the ones that are actually suffering each and every day. There's, thousands of innocent Mexican people who are being affected by these drug cartels and their violence.
So last week here on the Will Cain Show, we had Congressman Chip Roy. He sort of endorsed a plan by Senator Mike Lee, which suggested you could give letters of marque to private citizens here in the United States to begin themselves to fight the cartels. That would, I assume, mean like disrupting smuggling routes, supply chains, that kind of thing on the American side, or perhaps it could bleed into Mexico. My question for you, Margarito, is this: are all of these measures, including private citizens?
Jose Amado said he had to say Trump because of Fox News, bro. He happy to say Trump, bro.
Or designating the cartels as terrorist organizations. Is there a point where the incentive, the beautiful draw of all the money you can make for yourself, right, on all the different things you want to traffic into America, is disincentivized enough? The trouble too much, not worth, the price?
Well, Mr. K, I think that for the most part, that plan of sending private-sized individuals to go after cartels, I think that doesn't make any sense. As you could see, that these drug cartels are actually killing each other on a daily basis. They need the law. They need the United States government to actually go after them and make the difference. Do I believe that this is going to help? I think it's going to have an impact. But I also think that, the reason why I started getting into law enforcement and educating and sharing my knowledge is because I believe that we have to go after the bulk U.S. currency. That's the bottom line. That's what every drug cartel actually gets into business. That's why every Sicario actually wants is the U.S. dollar. It's being transported back in bulk in the billions. And I think that we were to focus on the bulk U.S. currency, focus on the weapons that are going across the border. Here, just on, in the United States side, I think that would have a more significant impact overall. It's a business. I understand that it's called the war on drugs, but it has to be looked like as a business. The money is what fuels corruption and what fuels the violence.
Well, that's interesting coming from a man who worked on the American side of the border. Stop the cash going back across. You don't have a business if you're not getting paid to.
I thought he was going to tell him stop the cap.
Ship in your illegal drugs. Fascinating.
Corruption and what fuels the violence.
Oh, that's interesting coming from a man who worked on the American side of the border. Stop the cash going back across. You don't have a business if you're not getting paid to ship in your illegal drugs. Fascinating discussion. I'm serious, Margarito. I could, Jay, you go by. I could talk to you for a long time about this. We appreciate the time you've given us today.
Well, I thought he was going to do the Elon Musk right there, boy. I said, wait, what's coming next?
I appreciate the time, sir. Thank you.
Eddie Jimenez asked, bro, is Jay a Trumpster? You're going to have to ask him. I believe he is. I think he's been clear about it. I think he's been clear about it here. But yeah, he's been singing the same song. You gotta get the money going in. He's on some. His strategy is to starve them out.